Thanks for listening. I'm Christina Conover for Public Voices News Service. As students head back to school this week, I am joined by Margaret Wilson, a senior fellow and education expert at the Advances for Public Policy Institute, to join me for a conversation about the top education issues of the day. She says the Common Core standards are correcting a lie that we have told American families about our educational standards. Margaret joins me in the studio to talk about this and other issues. Margaret, welcome.
Thank you, Christina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Margaret, you've studied education in the United States for the last 20 years. You work with and know dozens of people who work in education in our national and state governments. Are we doing a good job educating our kids?
Well, we are getting there. Having said that, it's so important that our students have high standards. We want our children to be successful, not just in looking for jobs in this country, but in terms of international competitiveness. And for decades, unfortunately, in this country, we've had low standards. Standards were dummied down to make politicians look good. It's one of the most insidious things this country did educationally is they actually lied to children and to families and told them they were ready for college and careers when in fact they weren't even close.
Well then, what is America doing to increase educational standards for our students?
This is exactly what the Common Core standards are trying to address, the formerly inadequate educational standards that were perpetuated during the No Child Left Behind era. In contrast, Common Core is based on the idea of let's make the standards higher and consistent for all of our students. In short, the Common Core is a set of standards defining the knowledge and skills that students from pre-K to 12th grade need to master each year to be prepared for the next grade and ultimately college or work. The actual standards were developed by teachers, administrators, experts, and parents. If anything, this is the type of concerted effort we needed to overcome the myth that American students were being well prepared by our educational system.
Many are saying the steps that the government has taken to implement Common Core are coming too fast and doing too much. How would you respond?
Insofar as we are talking about redoing the national curriculum, then we are trying to accomplish a lot. It's going to be a hard and sometimes rocky transition to higher standards. It's so important that the Common Core standards get articulated to parents and that teachers believe that the Common Core standards are going to empower them to be more effective. I once talked to an elementary school teacher who told me, I don't really like geography, so I don't teach that. And I thought, wow, your students might need geography sometime down the road. So the Common Core is designed to address and prevent that kind of experience. It's really trying to address the age-old question of what are students supposed to learn, and then secondly, how do you measure it? These are questions that we need to push in areas that are very uncomfortable for people on both sides of the political spectrum.
Margaret, another hot topic in education right now is the idea of starting high school classes later in the morning in recognition that many aren't naturally waking up early and that they aren't that alert at early school start times. What do you think? Is this something school districts should take seriously?
This is a dilemma that school districts face. If you allow for later start times, everybody complains that you are coddling the teenager. And if you keep it the way it is, you are going against lots of research to support the idea that teens really struggle to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and concentrate in school when their bodies want them to be sleeping. Just to shift the question a little bit, the logistics behind this are complicated, and I recognize this is not as easy as it sounds. But at the end of the day, I think it's incumbent upon education leaders to not run school systems that work for buses, but for students. If schools start later and if students were able to be more focused, that would be a good thing.
We as Americans have increasingly lost faith in public education in the United States. Do you think it's possible to win back the trust of the American people on this issue?
I think the trust is coming back around, at least incrementally. To really rebuild trust in our educational system, we need to make sure that we are building cultures around innovation. We need to look at ways in which schools can increase competency-based learning by doing things like using technology in innovative ways. We need those kinds of innovations to go to scale, and we're not there yet.
All right, well, we'll have to leave it at that. I want to thank you, Margaret Wilson, Senior Fellow and Education Analyst at the Advances for Public Policy Institute, for joining me in the studio today and discussing your expertise on this very important topic. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Christina.